is a bit of a catch-22 situation. While the vaccine is supposedly a major booster for travel and tourism, the spike in cases in a few states as well could be a deterrent for this demand uptake. So let's try and understand what exactly is happening with the entire hotel industry and whether things are really picking up or not. We have with us Ratan Keswani, the Deputy MD at Lemon Tree Hotels, Sanjay Sethi, MD and CEO at Chalet Hotels, and Ajay Bakaya, MD at Sarovar Hotels. Gentlemen, morning. Good to have you on the show. Ratan, if I could start the discussion with you, how are things really on ground and how far really are we from a revival for the hotel industry back to pre-COVID levels?
We spoke about 10 days ago, and I was cautiously optimistic. But I think what's happening around us in the last couple of weeks has put that a little on the back burner. As I had said even earlier, the first quarter was in the 30s and the 40s. The second quarter recovered to the 50s. We were seeing a decent 60s kind of performance in the third quarter and the fourth one. But suddenly, because the spike in cases and sudden changes in, RT-PCR and entry rules, etc., we are seeing the forecast drop. Advanced bookings have got affected for the months of April and May, which were showing a robust pickup till about middle end of February. Also, what's happening is, local DMs are putting in local city regulations, which again, incoming guests are not aware of, and that's causing a little bit of discomfort. At the same time, I think our guests are also being a little irresponsible, and the others are watching them too. And so because of that, I think the fear has again come back. Some of us were supposed to, and Sanjay and Ajay are part of the same panel, were supposed to attend an in-person conference. And I think the other attendees are concerned, and most would want to be in a hybrid situation. So it's a bit of a dip in how we felt. So I guess to get back, it would be somewhere autumn, winter of this year, not before that.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part, Sanjay, because, while December, or rather the winter months, did see a strong revival coming in, at least when it came to leisure travel. And one would have thought it's going to be a robust summer as well. But now with this feared second wave and a spike in cases coming in a few, states, and like Ratan just highlighted, that there are many other states which have their individual rules, which tourists are unaware of, that could really push back the things.
Well, Ratan put it very rightly that the trend was positive and moving upwards, and we've seen a little bit of a slowdown in the last couple of weeks. But, I think it's temporary in nature. Structurally, the vaccination drive is going to set things right. And from that perspective, mid to long term, and when I say mid-term, I'm talking about next 2 or 3 quarters, to long term, I think we're moving in the right direction overall. We are also happy that business travel to some extent has picked up. We've seen individual business travel as well as project-based business travel now taking shape. International business travel obviously is completely dependent on when the air routes open up and when business visas get issued. With this recent sort of surge in cases, what we've seen is that F&B seems to have dipped a bit. From that perspective, I think it's the right thing to happen. Most of the bigger hotels were in any case following all the protocols. And we had a recent meeting, for example, with the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, where we committed to even more stricter measures to be adopted, to the extent that now we have COVID marshals in our hotels who ensure that everyone's following the right protocol. Not only that, the associations now have created check teams who go and visit hotels and restaurants to ensure that everyone is following the rules. So there are teams that are doing that on the ground, and all that combined together will sort of normalize things. The big challenge are 2 or 3. One, I think we need to make sure that, especially in cities like Mumbai, that the public transport system is managed in a way where we ensure the right COVID protocols are followed. It's difficult, but that needs to be done. And one solution could be increasing the number of trains or buses, so but limiting the number of people in each of them to maybe half the capacity. And second thing is the overcrowding of some of the markets. These two are the critical areas that need to be addressed from my perspective. Hospitality, restaurants are largely following the rules.
Mr. Bakaya, quite a catch-22 situation, as has been elaborated by our guests, talking about how, yes, there had been an improvement, things were moving to pre-COVID levels, and now this sudden spike in cases seems to have turned everything around. What's the sense that you're getting in terms of when we could see that incremental recovery kicking in, and what inquiries have been like so far?
You know, we're out of critical care. We're out of the ICU. We still need some tender loving care to move on in life. It's a large country and a diverse country, and it's a long haul. None of us expects this to turn the corner overnight. We will have a few blips here and there, but in my opinion, I believe the worst is well behind us. And I believe with the vaccination program well underway, we should be up and going faster than what we think. There will be downs. We still have areas like Kerala, which are suffering from COVID in a big way and haven't recovered. We have cities like Bangalore that are so strongly dependent on IT and IT related that are way down in the dumps and need a lot of luck and fortitude to recover. Will take longer. But I think overall, if I put India in one basket, we did a 55% occupancy across the board in our 100-odd hotels in India. And March may be a notch shy, but overall, April, May, June, with lots and lots of Indian weddings are promising to be really good months. We will have some setbacks here and there, but I see them as temporary setbacks. In terms of an overall recovery, anywhere between 6 and 18 months. That's my feel. But I think we're moving upwards now, and we need to remain cautious but positive. Thank you.
All right, so recovery could be a long way down the line, but at least the worst seems to be over. Mr. Keswani, wanted to get in your thoughts on the average room rates as to how they are currently shaping up, because at a time they had been considerably below the pre-COVID levels. Have you seen some sort of a spike up or a recovery in the average room rates, and what's the trajectory that you anticipate?
So I mean, during the quarantine and, shutdown containment periods, I think average rates were effectively down almost 50%. They then went to a level where they're about 35% under pre-COVID levels, which is a little different in the resort locations where I think the gap is about 15-18% and not more. So that's been a bit robust. But in the metro cities and tier 2 cities, there is still a dip of about 25-30% from pre-COVID levels. Having said that, as I said, if the occupancy at least holds out, everything can be kept afloat and team members can come back to work and as long as they feel safe. But it's still the average gap would be about 20-25 if you would put the entire basket of city and resort hotels together.
Sanjay, what happens to average room rates? I mean, are they still considerably below the pre-COVID levels? And when is it that we can sense a full-blown recovery?
So I think this is completely dependent on which segment comes back when. It's not about, you can't look at it as an average. There are 5 or 6 segments that play the game for us. Right now, the regular business travel segment is not back. And that's the segment that stabilizes your rates. So till that happens, we don't see average room rates sort of stabilizing. So there'll be one step up when the domestic business travel starts in a full-blown fashion. The second step up will be when the global or international business travel starts. So when these 2 segments kick in, that's when the average room rates will stabilize back to pre-COVID levels. Incidentally, not a single client has asked us, the business, corporate client has asked us for any discounts on this year's rates. It's just that they're not traveling enough right now.
Yeah, they aren't. Abhi, what's been your observation on ground? While leisure travel seemed to have picked up, but corporate travel or business travel just hasn't. Do you sense that there could be a recovery anytime soon, or do you think it's going to be restricted to leisure travel?
Business travel has picked up a little. Our profiles have changed. The customer who was coming to us all along is not necessarily the same person that's coming along, even in the business domain. So younger executives are traveling. People in smaller cities are traveling. People that need to travel to sell their products or to set up a project, anything on those lines have begun to travel. Senior people are still not so forthcoming or not so keen to travel, are playing it safe. But I see a gradual recovery in that area. Also, we are now targeting or wooing customers that we did not traditionally go for. The conventional customer bank is depleted, so we're looking at all sorts of new segments. People doing film productions, people who are tailoring their weddings into smaller destinations because the numbers are smaller. We're looking at everything that we did not do earlier. So the profile of my guest in a hotel is different from what it used to be. And keeping that in mind and keeping the occupancies in mind, we really aren't even talking average room rates at the moment. It's a market-driven economy. A lot of our business is coming online. Loyalties are thin. Customers have plenty of choices. So I don't think our recovery is going to be rate-driven. It's going to be occupancy-driven and revenue-driven. We need the cash flows.
Interestingly, you said that people aren't really asking for discounts at a time like this, particularly when it comes to the business travel. But I just want to understand, is Chalet Hotels doing anything to lure more customers or offering value deals, packages? Are you seeing that sense of the revenge travel, and do you want to capitalize on that?
Absolutely. In fact, as Ajay mentioned, there are new segments that have evolved over the last 12 months, and I think they've become the mainstay in these current times. If you really look at it, whether it's staycations at city hotels, whether it's weddings, whether it's film shoots, whether it is the sports events that are happening, they're all driving business up. And of course, in the last few months, corporate travel for projects. From our side, I think we've offered some very encouraging packages on the staycation front. And I think on that front, we've had a huge amount of success, especially at products like Renaissance, which sits on a beautiful lakefront. And we've created some fabulous weekend amenities or staycation amenities over there. Similarly, in other hotels like JW Marriott Sahar, we've seen great success with IPL business, with the IPL team staying in Mumbai at Renaissance also. We've also seen significant amount of movement happening on the people coming in from outside India and staying in our hotels for that 1 week self-isolation that they have to do. On all that front, we've had success. We've had a few wins. I can't give you the details because for this current quarter, because of restrictions. However, last 2 weeks have been disappointing. I'm pretty sure that by April, sometime in early to mid-April, we'll bounce back again.
Fair enough. And Mr. Keswani, how are you looking at the steps that have been taken by the government when it comes to boosting prospects for the hospitality sector? There have been some rebates, the industry status. Do you think that for a sector that has been beleaguered and hit as hard as the hospitality has, that a lot more action needs to be taken, a lot more ammunition is needed from the government, or that as of now their hands are tied and pretty much every sector is struggling?
So let me answer in two parts. One is I shall keep silent, and that should kind of explain how we all feel. Does more need to be done? Absolutely. It need to be done many, many years, and now is a perfect opportunity. We're not seeing, other than conversations, anything tangible come across. And the industry status that people are talking about has been more a couple of states dabbling with that thought. It's not an all India piece that has come together, and it should. If you look at all the other neighboring countries and otherwise, you see the amount of support that airlines and hospitality have got because they do understand the needs of the employees and the number of people who are employed in our business. Having said that, so it's suffice to say it's been disappointing. Do we have hope? I think our world lives on hope. And we shall keep on hoping. But so far, that's where we are.
Can I jump in here? Ratan very rightly, said that it's unfortunately not across India. A couple of states have announced this now. So that's the challenge that we're having. And till tourism and hospitality come on the concurrent list of the central government, this is not going to move forward in a uniform way. So it's extremely important that we put tourism and hospitality, which is one of the largest provider of employment and a large contributor to the country's GDP, we put on the concurrent list. So there's focus. And I think we can actually double our GDP contribution in a very short time if we get that done.
Oh, yes, indeed. So a lot more needs to be done. That's the general message that we're getting. And, Mr. Sethi, what's the outlook when it comes to the earnings? Is there a sense that we will see the FY21 numbers remaining a little bit weak and only that sharp earnings recovery will be witnessed on account of a low base, perhaps in FY22?
Well, I can't really give you forward-looking statements. We've declared our Q3 results, and we've seen quarter-on-quarter improvement there. And if that trend is to be followed, clearly we are on a path to growth. FY22 will remain muted compared to 23 for sure. But our general view is that the industry will be back to pre-COVID numbers in FY23.
Ajay, what's your own sense on visibility when the business would actually come back? And when is it that the health of the balance sheets for the hotel industry are going to improve? And also throw in a light on, what happens to expansion plans at this juncture when you're striving to get the business or the operational business up and running back to pre-COVID levels? Do CapEx plans then are put on the back burner?
So questions 1, 2, 3, when do I see balance sheets improve? A lot depends upon the debt that a company has. If you're low on debt, your balance sheets will improve in 21, 22, very definitely. If you're high on debt and suffering in that area, then people have to find different solutions or different long-term solutions. And balance sheets may not appear so healthy for some time to come. On new development, projects that are underway may take some delays, but are still going to go ahead. New projects might see longer delays. And yes, if you look purely at ROI today, it is not the most prudent or the most beneficial thing to be putting up hotels. That scenario will only change in a bit of time. I can talk for Sarovar. We have 15 hotels scheduled to open in this calendar year, 2021. We opened 6 last year in a horrible year. And even if I say all 15 may not happen on time, there could be delays. I'm very confident we'll open another 10 hotels. So there is movement there is traction there, because projects that are 50% plus done are not going to stop just because of the load shutdown. In fact, it's a great time for people planning renovations, for hoteliers planning renovations to get work out of the way before things return to full normal.
Yeah, possible. Ratan, what's been your observation? Would you say that this is the time to perhaps even get in some distressed deals and this is the time to expand, or would you say not quite?
So let me just echo part of Ajay's thoughts. Just like Sarovar, we opened 5 hotels during the pandemic. In the next 3 months, I hope to open 7 more. So that part keeps happening. There are more contracts being signed as we speak. We should have a couple of them in play in the next couple of weeks. So that has happened, and correctly so. Again, this is the time, if people have the capital or are able to raise capital, would be the time to actually renovate, refurbish hotels which have aged, because occupancy will not be so high and therefore that work can go on. On the distressed assets, a lot of us felt that there would be a lot of availability of distressed assets. And I think Sanjay has made it very vocal that he has enough gunpowder to be able to spread around the place in India. So yeah, I mean, the people who have gunpowder are willing to invest, but regrettably, the so-called distressed assets are still being quoted at valuations which were pre-COVID, which doesn't really make sense at all. We've all, I think, been approached by similar players, but unless the valuations are correct, even if you have gunpowder, it's a bad investment decision. But this would be the right time to, get into more assets if they were available at a better and a more optimum valuation for the present.
Fair enough. And Mr. Keswani, do you think that perhaps these kind of cost-cutting measures that hotels have had to undertake would continue through FY22 when it comes to employee F&B, PAR, etc., in order to actually see an incremental recovery? Or has there already been things, going back to normal when it comes to the overall cost-cutting measures?
So I think we break it up into two parts. Some of the cost cuts were harsh at a point in time because they were the need of the hour to just protect cash. And some of them were clearly identifiable creeping waste methods that we were all guilty of. And you found you dug deeper into that whole piece. So whatever you found was a waste actually and does not need to be repeated, obviously that expense will go away. And that product service valuation would be a little different. Some of them which would therefore have affected a bit of a guest standard, but we had to do it. But therefore, in the price value, those kind of services or value chains need to come back. They are being brought back. So what's necessary and right for the customer in the price value will start to get back. And whatever we've identified as waste, which really wasn't benefiting the customer any which ways, it was habits that we had all got used to, will, I think, remain permanently off our cost sheets.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on board, just giving us a 360-degree view as to what the situation is within the hospitality sector. Mr. Bakaya, Mr. Keswani, as well as Mr. Sethi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.